The first debate is in the books, and if laughter was currency, I'd be richer than Trump. Rocky Balboa versus Apollo Creed, it was not. But watching the Donald steamroll the establishment, I felt like an 8-year-old boy watching Rambo for the first time. With 2 debates left on the docket, one thing is clear. It's time to buy stock in Orville Redenbacher.
Never tell them who I am. Well, how damn, I'm a man. 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
The first debate is in the books, and Donald Trump was out for blood. Now, for a lot of people watching, this debate did look like a bit of a shit show. And to be honest, it kind of was. But Trump went out there swinging his fists the entire time. He certainly didn't respect Chris Wallace or the debate platform at all, which was hilarious. But I could also see how it would maybe turn off some of the, some of the more squishy, moderate type, middle of the road, right-leaning people, or maybe even some of the left-leaning people. But he did not, he tried his best not to let Joe Biden get a word in edgewise, at least for a good bit of the time. I mean, Joe Biden did get his time where he got to speak free and clear, but especially towards the beginning, Trump stepped into the ring, put his gloves on, and just started swinging. And we weren't really sure what to expect from Trump, this being the first debate. I mean, he could have gone a little bit soft this first time. Some people are saying, maybe his debate strategy is just going to be to let Joe Biden talk and talk and talk, let Joe Biden just basically bury himself. But I think he was actually pretty smart in coming out and doing everything he could to constantly knock Biden off of his toes, get him back on his heels. Because it was very, very evident that Joe Biden had a script that he was running. He was expecting to just the civil back and forth, and he had his talking points for all the questions that might have been asked. Of course, I found it a little suspicious. I mean, I don't know. Chris Wallace came out at the beginning and said, neither of these candidates have seen the questions. Not that I trust Chris Wallace's word on that at all. Biden actually did seem better prepared on the talking points than I thought he would. Of course, he was a little sleepy on the talking points, and they were just kind of the same old scripted lines. They felt prefabricated. They felt like they were manufactured and ready to go. It was canned ham. It was all there, ready to go. Trump was on his toes, ducking and weaving, throwing out different ideas when they came to his head. There were a couple times where I thought Trump got a little redundant, and certain times where I thought he could have enunciated his argument a little bit better. But Chris Wallace was definitely in the bag for Joe Biden. I mean, there were multiple times where he seemed to tee up Joe Biden, which kind of makes me think that maybe Joe Biden did have some of those questions beforehand. And then there were other times when Trump was really starting to get on a roll, really starting to drive home some solid points, and Chris Wallace would shut him off. Now, of course, Trump did everything he could not to be shut down by either Biden or Chris Wallace. I mean, it was like two little people trying to fight a big wrestler or something. I mean, it was pretty funny just seeing him just go in there and through his persona just overpower both the moderator and his opponent at the same time. But in terms of how they're scheduling and who's moderating these debates, they had the first one on Fox News, and I know that by putting it on Fox News, they were trying to say that this one is going to likely be favorable towards Trump. But then they went ahead and put out Chris Wallace, who Chris Wallace is anything but favorable towards Trump. I mean, he is about as establishment as they come. So my question is, if Fox News was hosting this debate, why not let Tucker Carlson moderate it? Tucker Carlson would have been a way better moderator than Chris Wallace ever could have been. I mean, at one point, Trump was talking, he was asked about how he was banning the critical race theory in, all kinds of federal government institutions and things like that. And Trump actually gave a really, really good response to it. But then Chris Wallace had to come back and say that, what's wrong with sensitivity training? Some people we have to worry about are we worried about what they're feeling and this and that? And you could tell that Chris Wallace knows what critical race theory is. He knows that it's more than just sensitivity training. And Trump did do a good job of coming back and saying that, no, they're teaching a lot of un-American things there. They're teaching people to hate America. I wish that he had, and maybe this would have been a step too far for most people, but I personally would have wished to see him delve a little bit more into the Marxism of it, and even maybe go so far as to say that there are certain government training programs that are required only for white people, and that they have to go through and admit how they have negatively affected a person of color, essentially amounting to a struggle session. So I would have kind of liked to have heard Trump call out, revolutionary Chinese-style struggle sessions that are happening in some of these training courses. Because it's absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Now, Trump did nail Biden on China. And he straight up told Biden that China ate your lunch when he was vice president. And he did a good job of also calling out Hunter Biden. He talked about the $1.5 billion that Hunter Biden left China with. He didn't actually call it $1.5 billion. I don't think he wanted to tie himself to a specific number, which was probably pretty smart. But he said left with billions of dollars from China. He hit Biden on the new news that Hunter Biden got $3.5 million from the widow of the former mayor of Moscow. He also hit on Burisma. And, of course, Joe Biden had nothing for that. All he could say was, that's not true. That's been debunked. And Trump actually swang back and said, yeah, by who? The media? Because, of course, the media is going to debunk it. They're in the bag for you. You guys are all part of the same establishment. You're all part of the same cohort. So nobody trusts what the media says if they're the ones debunking the fact that we have proof of what Hunter Biden has done. We have proof of those crimes. And Joe Biden had nothing to say about it. And, he couldn't. Because anything that he would have said right then and there would have been on the record. He never could have gone back after that. He never could have backtracked. So there was another funny point when Trump was trying to, he was hammering. He wasn't trying. He was hammering Biden on his pact with Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden tried to he tried to play that off because, I got 2 points to make here. I'm trying to decide which one to make first. So he tried to play it off by saying, "Oh, this is my party." And, of course, Trump came back with the line, "not according to Harris," which is a reference to that event recently where she talked about a Harris administration with Biden as president. So, it's well known that Harris is the one really running the show in this campaign. Another thing that I wish Trump would have... sorry. Another point that I wanted to make on that point right there was that what Trump was doing was he was hammering Biden on creating that pact with Bernie Sanders, which gave Biden two choices. He either backs that and alienates some of the moderates that might consider voting for Biden. They'd be like, Bernie Sanders is too far left for me, or he could, denounce that, and then he's alienating the left base. So the fact that there is a divide among the left, among the Democrats, between the moderate blue dog Democrats and the progressive left, basically the Marxists, it really gives a good opportunity for Trump to box Biden in, and he did that on a couple of occasions. And one of the most brilliant points that I thought, they were talking about the Supreme Court, and Trump did a really good job of just saying, we have elections, they have consequences. And of course, Biden's line was, but we have an election coming up. And so, Trump was able to use Ruth Bader Ginsburg's own words against her, and that the president is elected for 4 years. And that choice was already made in the previous election. Anything that comes after the election. But Trump is the president until then. He's been given that power until then. And, ooh, God, I think I need a drink of water, but I didn't bring my glass with me. Damn. One of the funny things that Trump pointed out was that how he's going to have 300 judges appointed in his first term and how that's a record. And he said the only reason we were able to do that was because you guys left us 128 open judge seats. He's like, what president does that? The reason they did that was because Hillary was not supposed to lose. I think that they were leaving those open so that Hillary could appoint whatever judges she wanted to continue, to continue building what Obama did, or to install her new version of what is essentially the same plan to sell out America. And, one thing that I do wish Trump had also talked about back in relation, we're talking about selling out China, was what he did with the trade deals. Squashing the TPP, getting rid of NAFTA and replacing it with the USMCA. Because Biden Biden crumbled on a number of occasions, and he looked sleepy and weak. But he didn't have any of those major disaster moments that I was expecting there'd be like 10 of them in the course of an hour and a half long debate with Trump. So the fact that he stayed alive through the thing means he did better than I expected. So maybe I've set the bar a little too low for Joe Biden going into this. But he did seem to have his talking points fairly well memorized, which I think is why it was important for Trump to continually try to knock him off. And Trump did do a good job of knocking Biden off, because once he got knocked off script, he really stumbled. There was that point where he was talking about Kellyanne Conway, or he was talking about the riots. Your own advisor said that the riots are helping you, and Trump says, "Well, who said that?" He was Kellyanne Conway said that. He didn't have that ready to go. He's not a quick reactor at this point. Maybe, and I still think that Biden probably had an earwig in. He actually refused to have himself checked for any headsets or listening devices before the debate. So I would not be surprised if Biden did have an earwig in. In fact, I think it's about the only way that he would have actually been able to get as many coherent sentences strung together as he did, because we've seen him talk many times and he can't bring it together ever. And the fact that he was, when Trump backed off, because there were times when Trump did back off and let Biden speak, Biden was actually able to sound coherent. Now, of course, the stuff that he was saying was basically the run-of-the-mill media talking points that are all garbage, all BS. They're, nothing of substance really to them. But at least it was English, which is more than most of us were really expecting from Biden. So all in all, the debate was a little bit of a shit show. I do think it was absolutely hilarious, just the way that Donald Trump showed no respect to either Biden or Chris Wallace. I mean, the dude went in there and just steamrolled them. There were times when Chris Wallace was trying to stop Trump, because he kept trying to stop Trump whenever Trump was starting to make really salient points, and when he was really starting to hit home against Biden. And Trump didn't let it happen. Trump was not having that. But of course, he was throwing these little alley-oops up to Biden so that Biden could just jump in and have these easy teed up answers. So he wasn't asking Biden particularly tough questions. I guess there were a couple that were, I guess so that average people watching couldn't quite see the preferential treatment that he was getting for the majority of the time. There, I forget what questions it was that it all runs together. But another great line that they were talking about the I guess one of the questions was talking about race relations, and Trump was talking about how Trump went off on him about the '94 crime bill and how Trump is releasing people from prison and everything like that. And of course, Biden had nothing but the standard run-of-the-mill lines that are all just total snooze fest. Whenever you hear them, just thinking about them just made me yawn. But Trump had a great line, and what was so great about the line was that it actually added up from a mathematical standpoint. Was that he goes, "I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years." And what was so funny was those numbers just happened to add up. They just happened to line up, because it has been, I think, 47 months versus 47 years. So it's, all in all, I think Trump could have done better on this debate. I think there were certain times where he was too busy bull rushing to make very what's the right word that I'm looking for? Like very, very cognitive type arguments. But we all know that's not really Trump's game to begin with. He doesn't cerebral. That's the word I was looking for. He didn't give very many cerebral arguments, which I think there could have been a little. I think he could have done a little bit better of a job of that. But he was in there throwing punches. Biden was taking the punches. Biden threw a couple of little, that maybe Trump was just like, okay, that whatever. Trump barely noticed it. But Biden just it was so recycled. Everything was so recycled. It felt like the same. It felt like you were listening to Hillary Clinton up there, or Barack Obama, or any of the establishment people that are all in league together. Same talking points. But anyways, I do think Trump won the debate. Of course, the media is not going to give him that credit. They're going to talk about how brilliant Joe Biden was, because all Biden really had to do was come out there and actually say a sentence without fumbling and bumbling over it, and then the media was going to give Biden the win. So we all know what the media is going to be saying tomorrow. They're going to be saying that Biden won the debate. I don't think he did. He looked weak. He looked meager. He was blinking constantly. I mean, he was. I don't know if he was. Maybe Trump was right in calling for a drug test, because maybe he was just geeked out. I don't know, but he didn't look like. There's something about his eyes too. They looked all black. Biden just looked like he had all blacked out eyes. It was really kind of creepy, and he kept looking like up above. Nobody really knew what he was making eye contact with. And while Trump, the whole time, he's sitting there, looking down at Chris Wallace, looking over at Joe Biden. Biden, the whole time, when he's talking, it's like he's just looking off into the distance. It was really kind of weird. He wasn't even looking into camera. He was looking, like, above and past the camera. So, I'm just looking forward to see what happens with the next one. Maybe I should live stream the next one. What do you guys think? Should I do a live stream for the next debate? I got to figure out the live stream technology. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just be watching it and recording it, and then I'll post the video afterwards with the whole debate. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Anyways, I think, I think this wasn't a... While I think Trump won it, I don't think it was the slam dunk win, because you're going to have the people on the left that had such low expectations for Joe Biden that likely he surpassed their expectations, which makes them think he did better than he actually did. So, I don't know exactly what was, exactly what people are going to respond to there. I don't think, there was no true slam dunk lines like the 2016 Hillary Clinton, because you'd be in jail line. I mean, that one was just a baseball bat over the head to Hillary Clinton. Trump had some zingers in there, but nothing that quite lived up to that one. So, anyways, it was an entertaining debate. I was laughing my ass off just about the whole time. Just seeing Trump go after them, seeing him be so relentless, so just merciless. I mean, Trump was merciless. We'll see whether that debate strategy pays off. I do think he threw Biden off his game, but I don't know that it derailed him into any of those major flub moments that we were hoping for. So, while I do think it was a win, I don't think it was a blowout necessarily in terms of the optics of the debate. Of course, the substance, Trump had that, although I still, like I said, I wish he had a little bit more cerebral arguments to make at certain points. There are certain times where I was like, no, you should have said this. You missed an opportunity for that. He didn't mention the Project Veritas, Ilhan Omar scandal that's going on right now. It's fresh in the news, fresh in everybody's mind. It would have been a perfect time to hit home on that while talking about the mail-in ballots. Although Trump knows about that. So there had to have been a reason why he didn't go for that. Maybe because it's too hot off the press. It hasn't been... I don't know, that could end up, if something comes out, which I don't think it will, that kind of discredits that or something like that, then Trump would have been married to that story. So that's probably why he didn't go after that. But he very well could have talked about the New York Post article where there was the whistleblower that talked about all of the voter fraud that went on. And, you know, Trump really did make good points about why mail-in balloting, it's a broken system. It's a broken system. And he did a good job of delineating the difference between absentee balloting and universal mail-in balloting. Very, very different. Anyways, guys, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. What else you'd like to hear me talk about. Also, share this video. You know, let other people hear different opinions on this debate. Also, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. And if you're interested in contributing to the channel, there are links to my Subscribe Star, Patreon, and PayPal down in the description below. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful night.